Hi. Um, I was thinking how psychedelics are very similar to magic ritual magic in theory and maybe also in practice. How if let's see, how would I say this? What's happening during psychedelics, and I'm talking about sort of closed eyes, sort of 100% concentrating on the visuals kind of psychedelics, uh, is exactly that it's like a really heightened form of meditation where all of your senses are extremely acute and you're aware. It sort of puts you into this state of awareness, um, where you're seeing a lot of different things and they each symbolize different things in the basic sense of the word, that there's like trumpets and elephants, and there's different meanings to each one of the visuals. They have meaning, no matter how silly or mundane. Uh, and of course, you can't escape the fact that there is a there are many layers of meaning, and it gets extremely um, grand and really small at the same time. Sounds interconnect with what you're seeing, synesthesia. Um, any sort of feelings of any sort of a breeze or a smell, a taste, it's all sort of interconnected. And it's almost as if that holds your attention. You can't not focus your attention on it. So you're constantly practicing meditation, even if you don't want to. The only way to survive the avalanche of visuals is to concentrate on them, therefore to meditate. So in a sense, psychedelics are very similar to like ordeal shamanism. In a sense, it's the same principle, where you are in an extreme situation and you need to stay focused if you want to survive. Uh, but of course, in psychedelics, it's more of a, the danger isn't so acutely felt usually, or at least it doesn't have to be. Whereas with ordeal shamanism it usually would be. Of course, I guess all forms of shamanism, or most forms of shamanism, have something to do with this. I mean, just shamanic drumming is also a form of keeping the attention constantly on a beat. It's like the same idea of the Buddhist gong, but instead of it sounding at a slower interval, it's sounding at a quicker interval. So you're constantly being woken up from the possibility of not concentrating. It's always drawing you into concentration. Uh, so psychedelics are very similar to that, but it's similar to ritual magic in that it has the same thing, where you are surrounding yourself with different colors, different shapes, different sounds, different sizes, sort of every possible distinction that could be perceived by the senses is made and perceived in front of you, so that your senses have nowhere else to focus their attention on. They have nowhere else to say, oh, this is boring, I'll look somewhere else, because it's, by its very nature, it's never boring. Whenever it gets boring, it changes. Your boredom is part of it. It can't escape your boredom. So, I mean, your boredom can't escape it. And therefore, you're constantly put into a state of meditative awareness and concentration. And along these lines, I was thinking how meditation sometimes feels this way as well. That it sometimes feels as if sensory perception in meditation is used as an anchoring point to concentrate. And of course, the breath is the most famous one, but even at points in meditation where you're feeling a lot of different things at the same time, they all become a sort of anchoring point for awareness. It's as if, said in a slightly negative way, which is not how I mean it, but it's just to get the point across. It's as if sensory perception were just an excuse. It's just sort of a tool to get you to concentrate. But of course, the reason why I think it's not a negative, it shouldn't be seen in this negative way, is that it works both ways. That concentration, so sensory perception heightens concentration, heightens awareness, but awareness increases sensory perception. The more awareness you have, the more colorful things are, the more beautiful things are. So the more you're surrounded by beauty or by sublime, sort of like in the psychedelic experience, the more you're sort of surrounded by this sort of beautiful cascade of imagery, the more aware you are. Because ironically, despite it being beautiful, the more beautiful it is, the more dangerous it is if you're not focused. So then the more you focus, the more beautiful it becomes. But of course the same happens in all other situations. As I said, in the case of meditation, just walking down the street is a much more beautiful experience with meditation, or sort of with entering into a sort of flow. So that's why people who enter into flow with other methods would experience the same. Sports, athletes, whatever. And of course that's kind of the point, that I think meditation or flow is essentially has a lot to do with following the will. So following what you want to do, or discovering what it is that you want to do and doing it, is meditation. It's as if by going towards what you want to do, it has a lot to do with awareness, I think. Again, in this sort of vice versa kind of way, where becoming aware helps you become aware of what you want to do, therefore getting closer to beauty, and getting closer to what it is that you want to do already gets you into a higher state of awareness, because you're concentrating on what you're doing, with the simple idea that when you're not concentrating on the present moment, it's because you're thinking about the past or about the future, in very simple sort of terms. You have some desire that's not grounded in the present moment. This wishful thinking about the past or about the future. But of course, wishful thinking about the past and about the future only happens when you're not satisfied with the present moment. When you find yourself, when you're not actually being yourself in the present moment. The more you're being your true self and you're sort of following your will in the present moment, there is no fantasy to escape to in the past or the future, because the fantasy is exactly what you're living in the moment. What you are fantasizing about is what you have drawn into the present moment. Therefore, there is less unawareness. There's less sort of drifting off into fantasy. So yeah, all these concepts all seem to relate at some point where meditation, which sounds like a really simple, kind of sober technique, has a lot to do with the variety of things that human beings want to do, with the variety of paths that people want to follow, and of course with the extreme variety of the psychedelic experience, or with the encounter uh, with the unconscious in its various forms, with synchronicity or dreams and so on. Yeah, just some thoughts on that. Thanks.